thank you to everybody who supported my video on Life is Strange True Colors. That was such a personal passion project, and I just had to express how special Alex Chen, its main protagonist, was to me. And it was to the point where when I beat that game, I was instantly longing for more. It just wasn't enough to beat it again. It wasn't enough to make a 30-minute video about it. I was genuinely longing for a sequel. I wanted another Life is Strange game that starred Alex Chen. Now, we're not getting that. We're getting Max instead. And as much as I love Max, as much as I love the original Life is Strange, I just felt like Alex was a natural fit to have more stories to her. There's just so much left on the table. Well, we might not be getting a game, as far as we know, but we did just recently, a week ago in fact, get a new novel based on Alex and Steph from Life is Strange True Colors. Before we continue, I have to stress that I am not qualified to be a novel critic. I don't even read books outside of work or school, so I'm just a person who's a big fan of True Colors, the source material. Just a big fan of True Colors who likes to talk sometimes. That's all this is. Life is Strange Heatwaves takes place almost directly after True Colors, specifically the route where you romance Steph and choose to leave Haven, which, lucky me, that was the route that I chose. Actually, it's kind of funny. There's several other choices that are referenced in this book, and I swear, all of them were my choices as well. I talked about in the video how this game and this protagonist specifically are just so serendipitous to my life, and I just feel like it just never ends. It just keeps on going. Anyway, this is about 250 pages, which is a pretty good length if you ask me, and the author, Brittany Morris, is the best-selling author of The Jump, Slay, all caps, The Cost of Knowing, and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Wings of Fury. To give a basic premise, Alex and Steph leave Haven to pursue their passion of music, but unfortunately along the way, they end up stranded in a small town, still in Colorado, where unfortunately they're dealing with a severe drought, there's barely any water for the citizens, and in order to hopefully remedy the situation, Alex has to end up dealing with some politicians, which, it's kind of funny, this released at this time because my fellow Americans know, it's an election year. It's called Heatwaves. It's very hot. One of the hottest summers on record. I have a fan on right now that you can probably hear because I just can't deal with this right now. And you can kind of imagine how interesting it might be for that to interact with Alex's empath powers. You know, there's just a lot of extreme emotions around. How is Alex going to deal with that? I'm sure this goes without saying, but this is indeed written from a first-person perspective. It is narrated by Alex herself in the present tense, and I'm really happy because not only does that match the game, it just seems appropriate, but Alex's commentary on a lot of the environmental stuff, all the extra lore, the flavor text, I really love that about True Colors, and you still get that here. Now, there's one major difference between Heatwaves and True Colors that I think a lot of long-time Life is Strange fans are going to enjoy, and it's the fact that Heatwaves is a lot more focused on its mystery. True Colors had a lot of slice of life, and you still kind of get that here. You know, you're learning about the community, there's still that small-town vibes, but the mystery is always relevant because the community is the mystery. The first session I had with this book, I read in 50 pages. It's a little bit of a slow start, but I was really invested just because, well, look at these two little baby girls right here. It was just fun just because of that, right? But then, the second session ended up being my final session. I read 200 pages in the span of 5 hours, all in one sitting. That is just how hooked I got into it. The second half really picks up. And the reason for that is quite simple, actually. It's all about the tension. There's so much tension when Alex is trying to get more info by baiting out certain emotions, but she has to do that without looking suspicious, or baiting out the wrong emotions, or just making any sort of wrong move, really. Like, she almost becomes like a full-on detective. That does happen in True Colors, but in Heatwaves, it escalates. It escalates further beyond than I ever even thought, especially based on the beginning. Guys, one of my lights just ran out of battery. It's just been a tough day for us all out here. But hopefully you're okay with this more chill, low-key, late-night vibe. I was debating whether or not I should reveal one of my favorite parts about this novel, because it's not really a spoiler, but it is a really cool surprise. So what I'll say is that there's a very bold decision that they made. True Colors has a lot of different choices, right, that you can make. It actually ends up shaping the story way more than you'd ever expect. It directly influences Alex's motivations, her feelings, why she does the things she does, and how the conflict escalates. So that was awesome. It really was, because that decision in True Colors is one of my favorites. It is my favorite in the game, actually. So to see that here and have such a prominent role, just awesome. My favorite thing, however, is probably predictable. It's Alex, right? But it's not just Alex. It's the fact that this author gets Alex. She understands. I know that might be expected of an official video game spin-off or sequel, whatever you want to call it, but like she just gets it. Like, I just felt, even in the first couple pages, I felt so validated in that video I made. Just everything I said in that video, I could just immediately sense it while reading this novel. I'm not just talking about her personality, her decision making, her humor. I'm talking about the most important thing about Alex. Alex is still developing. That's why I want more games that star her. There is so much more potential with her growth. There's so much more potential with her powers. She is a work in progress, and Brittany Morris completely understood that. To give you an example, at the beginning of True Colors, Alex has a lot of anxiety, and she just has trouble putting her faith and trust in strangers. Over time, over the course of the story, she gains more confidence. She comes out of her shell. But then if you look at the beginning of this novel, and honestly for a lot of it, she still is very anxious. She still has a lot of trust issues. And so you might think, well, why didn't she grow from True Colors? What happened? Well, that's because, and the novel makes this very clear, the third act of True Colors was terrifying. She almost got murdered by someone she really trusted. That's not something that's gonna resolve itself just because she solved the mystery and she saved the day. No! That's a pretty big deal. That's quite traumatic on top of all the other trauma she already has. It's not always gonna be a linear progression of her becoming a better person, becoming better at handling herself. No, that's just not how it is. That's not how real human beings are. So I'm really glad that True Colors ended in that fashion, where she was still unsure about herself. Like, that's the main dilemma at the end. She doesn't really know what she wants. She doesn't really figure herself out, right? And that still carries over here, where yes, you can tell she's grown. It's not like she hasn't grown at all. She has grown. This is taking place not too long after the events of True Colors, so a lot of this she's still processing. She still has to work out. What I didn't expect, though, and found to be such an intriguing, such a smart way of handling the fallout from True Colors, is that Alex, despite being unsure in a lot of other areas of her life, she is a lot more confident in her powers. Confident to the point of being stubborn. Again, some people might find that confusing. They might say it's out of character. But remember, Alex's powers was the one thing where she can safely say, yes, I have improved. Everything else has been fluctuating due to, all the bullshit that's been happening, right? But her powers, that's the one thing. That whole situation where her friends can leave her hanging in the finale, guess what? She single-handedly got out of that due to her powers. So it makes sense that she would be most confident in them, that she would even rely on them to, a positive or negative outcome. You'll just have to read and see, but I just thought that was fascinating. The fact that Brittany Morris was able to take this ending that a lot of people criticize, even myself. I look back at that ending, and I feel more positive about it. Now don't worry, I did not forget about Steph, and I'm happy to report that one of my favorite parts of this novel is just the relationship between Alex and Steph. It's so endearing, so lovable. In True Colors, they really show their chemistry of how their silliness really really complements each other. They bring out the best in each other in that way. But what I love that the novel does as well, it shows that even their differences complement each other. Like Steph, as we know, is very bold. She's very blunt. And specifically, she's bold in social situations, which, as you can guess, Alex is not the best at, right? But Alex, she pushes the envelopes by pushing the boundaries, especially with how confident she is in her powers now. Steph has to be the one now. Even in their very ill-advised ways, they're just kind of perfect for each other in the sense that, hey, you know, this time I'm the one to kind of settle you down and tell you, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe chill out a little bit. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, though. There are a few cons, a few flaws I want to point out. Well, flaws is a strong word. The first one is just kind of a preference. I really wish there were illustrations in this novel. I know it's not abnormal for novels to not have illustrations, but considering True Colors, the presentation is just one of the best parts of that game. It's just so wonderful to look at. I just wish there was more. Like, all you really get is the bird marking a new chapter, and that's cute and all, but it would have been nice to just have like an occasional illustration just because of how pretty and vibrant True Colors is. An actual flaw, though, I would say, is that the minor characters aren't that compelling. Like, they're compelling enough to get you to the plot and get invested, but compared to True Colors, nowhere near as fleshed out. And to be fair, I don't mind it that much because this is a 250-page novel that mainly focuses on these two characters that I already established are really well done. To compare it to the video game, it's like Heatwaves was 3 episodes instead of 5. You know, you're just not going to get as much depth out of the minor characters. This one is an objective flaw. There are 2 typos that I happen to spot, and neither are really all that important. It's not like during a climatic moment or anything. But one of them is just kind of baffling. It just made me think, how did they make that mistake? How did they overlook that? And last but not least, just like True Colors, I was mixed on the ending, not to the extent. Like, in Heatwaves, it's just the last few pages. It's not the overall ending. Just the last few pages I thought at times was like, oh, that's pretty cheesy, or, oh, that's convenience, or, oh, after all that, you know, like, there's just certain things about it where I'm like, okay, sure. Just really a minor nitpick, really. But that was notable considering it is the ending. Real quick, I forgot to mention that the last page made me audibly jubilant. It's one of those things where you can tell that, yes, the author is a fan, they're one of us, they're very well aware of what the community loves about this game. And you know what? We're all sharing this moment together. So to end the book in that way, it was just a feel-good moment, for sure. Oh, actually, sorry. There's one more flaw. There's one more, and it's the marketing. Okay? I've seen, like, no buzz around this, which I don't really see much buzz around the Life is Strange novels in general. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. But specifically, in particular, even I didn't know that in 2 weeks, there's going to be an audiobook version that is narrated by the voice actor of Alex. Erica Mori had such a phenomenal performance in True Colors. I'm glad that I read it by myself, but oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I really can't express in words. She just did a great job. You know, she's one of the many reasons, I guess it's not really that much of a statement, but she's one of the many reasons why I love Alex. I really am infatuated with her performance, and to see her be able to act as Alex again, super excited for that. So, at the end of the day, is Heatwaves gonna blow your mind? No, it is not. Is it a groundbreaking novel? No, it is not. But if you are a fan of True Colors, if you are especially obsessed with one of, if not both, these characters, then I highly recommend it. It's something that throughout the whole time, each and every page, and especially once I finished it, I just felt so validated in my desire for another video game starring Alex Chen, because this really shows that potential I was talking about. Hopefully that day comes. But until it does, I would say that novels like these will certainly do the trick. Really enjoyed it.